Sentence diagramming lesson 2, adjectives and adverbs. Adjectives have a describing or modifying relationship. Describing is a sort of elementary school word for it, so you'll hear me always using the word modifying. So adjectives have a modifying relationship with nouns, and adverbs have a modifying relationship with verbs. Adverbs also modify other adverbs and adjectives, as we will see later, but that's for a later date. We're going to focus on nouns and verbs today. So let's start with a sentence. The green dragon ate the chocolate cake slowly. Now you can see that the order of the sentence is, of course, as always, the way you read it, from left to right. But sentence diagramming doesn't really care about order, it cares about relationships. So in terms of adjectives, we can see clearly that green modifies dragon. What kind of dragon? But also, we don't normally think of the as an adjective, but the is telling us which dragon. Not a dragon, but the dragon. What did he do? He ate. And how did he eat? There's our relationship slowly all the way back to ate. So you can see that slowly is far after ate in the sentence, and yet it is directly modifying the verb as an adverb. What did he eat? The cake. What kind of cake? The cake. Which cake? Chocolate cake. So you can see that sentence diagramming isn't about word order, it's about word relationship. And when we draw arrows like this, it's really hard to see those relationships. But as soon as we start diagramming them, the relationships become clear. So let's diagram this sentence. We'll draw our baseline, just like we talked about in lesson 1. Divide our main verb from our subject with our perpendicular line all the way through the baseline. And then because we have a direct object, we'll draw our perpendicular direct object line, put in our direct object. So dragon ate cake. There's what we did in lesson 1. But now we can ask questions of our nouns, and we can ask adjective questions. So we can say, which dragon? And we draw in a line that slants from left to right, and we can say, the dragon, and that point right there shows the relationship between the adjective and the noun. What kind of dragon? A green dragon. And there is the relationship between the adjective and the noun. Then we can ask adverb questions. How did this dragon eat? And the answer to that is slowly. There's the adverb relationship between the adverb and the verb. And then we turn to our direct object and we say, which cake? The cake. What kind of cake? Chocolate cake. And so there is a sentence diagrammed out completely with regard to main verb, subject, direct object, adjectives, and adverbs. And of course, because you didn't remind me, we forgot to cross out our letters, our words as we went. So we'll do that with our second example. Our second example is, my two friends constructively, and there's that common ly adverb marker, criticized my latest speech. And so let's diagram it. We draw our baseline, as always. And we look for our main verb, criticized. Who did this criticizing? Friends. Friends criticized what? And there is an answer to that question. Speech. So now we've got our baseline with subject, main verb, and direct object, and we can start asking adjective questions about the noun subject. Whose friends? My friends. How many friends? How many is an adjective question. 2. Let's go to our direct object. Whose speech? My speech. Which speech? The latest speech. And let's go to our main verb and ask, how did this criticizing happen? And the answer is constructively. And we do it like that. And there's a sentence completely diagrammed for subject, main verb, direct object, adjectives, and adverb. Now, of course, I've artificially planned these sentences so they have nothing but these parts, and we'll keep making the sentences more complicated as we go. And if there are sentences where you don't know how to diagram something, just cross it out and skip it. So I'm going to give you 3 sentences again. Once I give you the sentences, you will pause the video and do your work, and then come back and we'll talk about the answers. Sentence number 1. The lumpy old man, no offense, loudly yelled many impolite words. Sentence number 2. The kindly teenagers, that's you, had responded politely. And sentence number 3. The fragile cactus flower, shades of Stargirl, should have bloomed yesterday. I'll give you a hint. There's a when word. When words are adverbs. So go ahead and pause and we'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back. Let's do sentence number 1. Just like we always do, we'll start with a baseline divided for subject and verb. Our verb is yelled, subject, man. Man yelled what? Direct object, words. There's our baseline. Now let's ask adjective questions about our subject. Which man? The man. What kind of man? A lumpy man. Which man? the old man. Let's ask adjective questions about our direct object. How many words? Many. What kind of words? Impolite. So we've done our verb, our subject, our direct object. We've got 3 adjectives there, 2 adjectives there. And now all that's left is to ask adverb questions. How did he yell? Answer loudly. And there we have number 1 diagrammed out for subject, main verb, direct object, adjectives, and adverb. Let's do number 2. Main verb, had responded. Subject, teenagers. That's you. Teenagers had responded what? And there's no direct object, so we'll not go any farther on our baseline, and we'll ask questions about the teenagers. Which teenagers? The. What kind of teenagers? What other kind of teenagers are there? Kindly. How did they respond? Politely, of course. And number 3. Draw our baseline. Main verb should have bloomed. Subject. Ooh, I almost tricked myself. The cactus shouldn't bloom. It was the flower that should have been doing this blooming. We'll see that cactus is not what you expect. So now let's ask adjective questions about this flower. Which flower? The flower. What kind of flower? Well, it's a fragile flower. And also what kind of flower? It is a cactus flower. Now that's weird because we normally think of cactus as a noun, and it usually is, but in this case it's being an adjective modifying our flower. And when should this flower have bloomed? And the answer is the adverb yesterday. So now you are experts in the baseline, subject, main verb, and direct object, and the modifying adjectives and adverbs. Lesson 3 will be prepositional phrases.